Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotra Shuddha Shri Srimad Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotra Shuddha Shri Srimad Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Can you pass the book, please? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Excuse me. Today we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, entitled Status Quo, Chapter 25, The Glories of Devotional Service, and we're on text 30. Tad etan me vijanihi.
Tad etan me vijanihi.
Yatahang mandadir hare.
Yatahang mandadir hare.
Sukham buddhyeya durbodam.
Sukham buddhyeya durbodam.
Yosha bhavad anugrahat.
Yosha bhavad anugrahat.
Tad etan me vijanihi.
Tad etan me vijanihi.
Yatahang mandadir hare.
Yatahang mandadir hare.
Sukham buddhyeya durbodam.
Sukham buddhyeya durbodam.
Yosha bhavad anugrahat.
Yosha bhavad anugrahat.
Tat etan me vijanihi.
Tad etan me vijanihi.
Yatahang mandadir hare.
Yatahang mandadir hare.
Sukham buddhyeya durbodam.
Sukham buddhyeya durbodam.
Yosha bhavad anugrahat.
Yosha bhavad anugrahat. Tadetan me vijanihi. Tadetan me vijanihi. Yataham mandadir hare. Yataham mandadir hare. Sukham buddhyeya durbodam. Sukham buddhyeya durbodam. Yosha bhavad anugrahat. Yosha bhavad anugrahat. Tadetan me vijanihi. Tadetan me vijanihi. Yathaham mandadir hare. Yathaham mandadir hare. Sukham buddhyeya durbodham. Sukham buddhyeya durbodham. Yosha bhavad anugrahat. Yosha bhavad anugrahat. The last I in vijanihi is actually short. Oh, vijanihi. Janihi.
Taretan me vijanihi.
Taretan me vijanihi.
Yataham mandadir hare.
Yathaham mandadir hare.
Sukham buddhyaya durpadam.
Sukham buddhyaya durbodham.
Yoshabhavara nugrahat.
Yoshabhavanugrahat.
Taretan me vijanihi.
Taretan me vijanihi.
Yataham mandadir hare.
Yathaham mandadir hare.
Sukham buddhaya durbodham.
Sukham buddhyaya durbodham.
Yosha bhavat anugrahat.
Yoshabhavanugrahat. Taretan me vijanihi. Yathaham mandadir hare. Sukham buddhyaya durbodham. Yoshabhavanugrahat.
Tat a tat.
Taretan.
That same.
That's it.
Me
Me.
to me.
Me.
Vijanihi.
Vijanihi.
Please explain.
Please explain.
Yata,
Yatha.
so that. Aham, I. Manda, slow. Dihi,
Dihi.
whose intelligence. Hare, oh my, excuse me.
Hare.
Oh my Lord.
Oh my Lord.
Sukham,
Sukham.
easily.
Easily.
Buddhyaya,
Buddhyaya.
may understand.
I understand.
Durbodham,
Durbodham.
very difficult to understand.
Very difficult to understand.
Yosha,
Yosha.
a woman.
A woman.
Bhavat anugrahat,
Bhavanugrahat.
by your grace.
By your grace.
Translation. My dear son, Kapila, after all, I am a woman. It is very difficult for me to understand the absolute truth because my intelligence is not very great. But if you will kindly explain it to me, even though I'm not very intelligent, I can understand it and thereby feel transcendental happiness. Purport. Knowledge of the absolute truth is not very easily understood by ordinary, less intelligent men. But if the spiritual master is kind enough to the disciple, however unintelligent the disciple may be, then by the divine grace of the spiritual master, everything is revealed. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur therefore says, Yasya prasada, by the mercy of the spiritual master, the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavat Prasada, is revealed. Devahuti requested her great son to be merciful towards her because she was a less intelligent woman and also his mother. By the grace of Kapiladev, it is quite possible for her to understand the absolute truth, even though the subject matter is very difficult for ordinary persons, especially women. Hare Krishna. Om Gyanatimirandasya Kananjana Shalakaya Chukshulan Meditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Kam Karidvachalam Pangam Langayate Grim Yakabha Tamaham Vande Shri Gurun Ditanam Vancha Kapdribishcha Kipasani Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. So I'll read the translation again. My dear son, Kapila, after all, I am a woman. It is very difficult for me to understand the absolute truth because my intelligence is not very great. But if you kindly explain it to me, even though I am not very intelligent, I can understand it and thereby feel transcendental happiness. So, Devahuti, which is Kapila Dev's mother, she is inquiring from her son about the glories of devotional service, continuing to do that. And here she's making a statement that it's difficult for her to understand, right? She's saying, my intelligence is not very great. Will you kindly explain it to me? Even though I'm not very intelligent, I can understand it. If you explain it to me, I can understand it and thereby feel transcendental happiness. So, of course, Kapila Dev's mother, I mean, she has to be intelligent because, it's the mother of God. I mean, Kapila Dev is, so she has to be intelligent. I mean, she's not just some ordinary person. You can't just, give birth to the Supreme Person of Godhead and be an ordinary person, or be the mother of, this personality of Godhead and be an ordinary person. So she must be extraordinary. But in her humility, she's saying, I'm not very intelligent, and therefore please explain this to me. Of course, Srila Prabhupada, he comments in the purport, which everybody just heard, about how it's not very easily understood by ordinary, less intelligent men, and so on. So within this world, the conditioned souls, conditioned means those souls who are conditioned to forget Krishna, to forget God, they all have their forms of illusion that they're attached to. In other words, they all have their maya. So some people may have, their maya is they play video games, all day and night long. That's their maya. That's their way in which they forget Krishna. That's the way in which they attach to something that is separate from Krishna, and that's how they enjoy themselves separately from Krishna. And some people may be absorbed in sports, right? They may be football fans, this team, that team, so absorbed their whole life. Or in music, some people may get very attached to music that is not related to Krishna or God at all, and so on. So music and food and sports and politics, whatever it is, people get absorbed in something, and that's their source of pleasure, and you could say that's their form of maya. That's their form of maya. So when we say, everyone has their maya, right? So we want to come to the point where we don't have our maya. It's not that we have a maya. We have a form of maya we kind of go after, right? And I'm not just saying, you could say ordinary conditioned souls, but also devotees have their maya, whatever it may be. And even in religious circles, there could be people going to church or temple or whatever it is, mosque. They have their, that's, you could say, of course it's religious, spiritual in some sense, but if they're going there with a materialistic mentality, then I give a donation, everybody recognize me. Then that's their form of maya, actually, or whatever it is. So. And after analyzing everybody's, forms of maya that they have, not everybody, and that would be horrible if we would analyze everybody's forms of maya. But in general, just in essence, everybody's forms of maya. We see that in the material world, by far the main attraction or the general attraction within this world, or the main form of maya which people are after, is that, and it's in the songs, it's in all the songs that anybody comes up with, and it's all the Hollywood movies, right? And what is that? That sexual, relationship. That's the main, you could say, attraction, romantic, whatever you want to say, relationship. That's the main maya. So yes, people have their forms, but that is the main one. And this actually bewilders one and makes one unintelligent, in the sense that they're so absorbed in the body and the sense gratification that they don't want to think about anything spiritual or anything religious, any higher questions really. They just want to think about sense gratification. So the idea is that when we say, unintelligent, intelligent, what constitutes an intelligent person, unintelligent person? Of course, we could look up in the dictionary what is an intelligent person, what is an unintelligent person, right? So on. But But for one who's too attached to sense gratification, they're considered to be, not intelligent, or their intelligence is crippled. They may have some intelligence, but it's a little, it's not that super strong. And those who are detached from sense gratification, their intelligence is, and of course engaged in Krishna consciousness, their intelligence is considered to be strong. So the point is, people become covered over by their material desires, in which they cannot see beyond their own, you could say, biological needs, right? The urges. They cannot see beyond that. Like the 4 goals of human life, right, in the Vedic scripture are there. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, right? Is that it? Dharma, Artha, Kama, yeah. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. So you have religiosity, you have sense gratification, Artha, you have economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. So people who are just seen in terms of economic development, like people think, oh, that's very cultured, that's very wonderful, right? You're after money, and you're after whatever, taking care of your family, and you're after, right? You're after the green buck. That's very nice, of you. Cultured, right? You're up there in the skyscraper building, whatever it is. Apartment. But if someone's just after Artha, which the reason what people are after Artha, or economic development, is because sense gratification, they go together. Money and sense gratification, gratifying the senses, filling the belly, whatever it is. Then that in and of itself is actually just really animalistic when it comes down to it. Of course, the lower species, the animals, they don't have to, necessarily, they're not working for the green dollar, they just somehow or other works out, right? Their sense gratification works out, their eating works out, their sleeping works out, and their mating works out like that. Whereas human beings, they have to work for that dollar and then, then enjoy the sense gratification. But in and of itself, it's really of no difference. Like Prabhu would say, the dog is running on 4 legs, and people are running on 4 wheels. Whatever. The car is going on 4 wheels. So yeah, we have to be careful that we don't, because the tendency is, because practically everybody else is doing it, the tendency is to kind of fall down into that state of just, okay, economic development, sense gratification, right? Well, what about God? What about Krishna? What about, who am I, right? What is the goal of life? What is the whole point of all this, That has to be thought about, and not only thought about, but it has to be that has to be priority, and there has to be some activity after that, after the questions. So people have different intelligence. So, for example, Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says, Chaturvana maya shishtam gunakarma vibhagashaha. So he says that there's these 4 orders, or 4 categories of people. The Shudras are the workers, right, laborers. You got the Vaishyas, the mercantile or farmers, like that, business. And you got the Kshatriyas, the protectors of people. Right. I don't know where Sukhi Bhakti is. Anyways, the police officers, this and that. He wants to be a police officer. He wants to be a police officer. And you have the Brahmins, or the intellectual, the teachers, and like that, priests, or whatever. So all these people, they have different types of intelligence. They're like the worker. They're good at building houses and stuff like that, and they could do that, right? The Brahmin may not have intelligence to do that. I mean, maybe he could figure it out, but he definitely doesn't have the inclination to do that. Their mind, it works better in that way, the Shudras, right? Which is necessary, it's needed. It's not like they're, useless people. It's actually very much needed. And then the Vaishyas, right? They're making the money, they're farming this and that. That's also needed. They have a certain type of intelligence, right? Like Mukunda, he's out there, out there in the garden and working, and he has that inclination, he has the intelligence, he's happy doing it. Kshatriyas and so on, the Brahmins. So when it's speaking here about a woman, and it's saying here that, that Devahuti requested her great son to be merciful towards her because she was a less intelligent woman, also his mother. So of course nowadays this is very, very politically incorrect to say anything even hinting towards this, that there's a man and there's a woman and one of them's more intelligent than the other. That's just you should be shot for saying something like that. That's wrong, right? You should be put in jail. Previously there was a point where women weren't voting, right? And now they're voting. And now if someone was to say, which interesting enough, people have said somewhat recently, big politicians have said, oh yeah, women shouldn't vote, That's just like, oh man, that's just, it's... So yeah, it's a definitely, and especially nowadays as time goes on, it's a very, you could say, sensitive subject matter. And yeah, it's definitely something we generally don't bring up, right off the bat, right, with people. But it's there nonetheless. It's there, written in the purport. It's not going to be taken out, right? It's going to be there for a long time. And it's never going to be taken out. So we have to try to understand, okay, why is this being said and how is this true? And if I'm asked, how do I explain this? So like I said, there's a different type of intelligence. For example, like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna lists one of the qualities of the feminine nature of the woman. And what does he say? He says intelligence. He lists that there. But in this case, less intelligent, so but if we look at it from the point of view of intelligence, of, you could say ultimate intelligence, it means getting out of here, out of this material world. We see that Krishna has created the man, or masculine, or the male, to be inclined towards renunciation, or to at least be able to do it, in terms of how the body's built and how the mind's built and everything like that. So that's a very important point, that generally speaking, with if we're looking at men and women, the woman is inclined, to family and expansion and children and right. Stri, the name Stri, to expand, right? So yeah, they tend to be very family oriented and like that. So their intelligence, in many ways, is confined to that. It's confined toward that living, that type of lifestyle. Whereas, of course, men and women nowadays, and everything's confused, right? Who's who, what's, But by nature, this tendency to be like that, whether it is a man or a woman, because men also have that problem. It is considered to be limiting and just limiting. Not to want to get out of this material world and to be so attached to that little world, right? So whether it's man or woman, it's unintelligent. But built within the woman is that it's very strongly built. It's very strongly built in there, right? But like I was saying, a man, therefore in Vedic system, the man is trained. Okay, brahmacharya. There's this. You're living as a monk in the beginning, right? And then 25 or whatever the age is, generally people get married. Not all. but later on, the man is meant to take sannyas, meant for renunciation. So somehow or other, what I'm saying is that Krishna has built the man and the woman differently, and he's built the male like that, to be renounced. So when it's talking about less intelligent, that's a way in which we could see it, that from that angle of vision. But we see within Vedic culture that women are actually very well respected, and they're very well treated, and pure Vedic culture. They're very well respected and very well treated. So it's not that the men, they read all these statements and it's just like an invitation for abuse and all this type of weird stuff. But they're actually taken care of, not exploited. And these people are, modern materialistic people, are just unintelligent. That, okay, you guys are all saying in this old, 5,000-year book, women less intelligent, this and that, but we know how to treat our women, right? We know how to treat, sure you do, right? Because from all this exploitation of women and, seeing women as objects of sense gratification and all the sex propaganda, right? It has just become a mess. The society's become a mess. Society's become like a hell. So they don't know how to treat, actually. They don't know how to treat women, and they don't know how to treat themselves. They don't know how to treat anything, because they're not in connection with Krishna, right? Connection with God. So to have this idea that, modern society, that they know what they're talking about, they know how to treat women, right? They say we're all equal, and therefore they're wonderful, right? And this is just old ideas. But yes, these are old ideas, but they're also valid ideas now. And we shouldn't fall into this wrong thinking that the Srimad Bhagavatam is incorrect. But we should have faith in the Srimad Bhagavatam and Srila Prabhupada's words. So, whoever we may be, whether we're a woman or this or that, or temporarily we may be, or a situation we're in, Srila Prabhupada is making the point, if we're lacking intelligence, if we're lacking qualification, then by the mercy of the spiritual master, we could still make advancement, we still will make advancement, and everything will be revealed. So there's no excuses. We can't make excuses. Oh, I'm American, I was born in 1998, in New Zealand, or I was born in 19 whatever, when you were born, 35 years ago. Or I was born whenever, and I was born in this American society, and I was trained how to eat meat, and I was trained to how to be a probably would say woman hunter, and I was trained to be a gambler, and I was trained to take intoxication. So I can't make any advancement. I'm just too. It's Kali Yuga, I can't do it. I might as well just give up now, right? So those are all excuses, because the mercy of the spiritual master, the mercy of Krishna, is most powerful. According to, if we take it, it's most powerful. But we have to take it. Just like we sing every morning, Samsaradava nalita lokatra naya karuna gunaganatvam, right? Material existence is like a burning fire, and everybody's suffering in that blazing fire. And what is it? Anxiety. Anxiety. Blazing fire of anxiety and just general distress. Now, the spiritual master, he's taking the mercy of Krishna and showering upon us, and therefore we're feeling the relief. Now, so that mercy is available, but we have to take it. We have to take it. We have to take what he's giving, right? If I hand out some nice gulabjamins, here, Zach, here you go. It's Sunday. Zach eats sweets on Sunday. So here, Zach, here's some nice sweets, some gulabjamins. But Zach has to accept it. or else he's not going to feel the relief from his, sweet urge. He won't feel the relief. He has to accept it. So we have to accept the mercy. It's not just like, hey, well, I'm suffering here. Why am I suffering? And nobody's helping me. And well, you got to help yourself, right? God helps those who help themselves. So we have to Krishna's extending the mercy. We just have to take it. That's the thing. Like Srila Prabhupada wrote in one letter. He said, somebody was complaining, I'm sure, about all their problems and this and that. So Srila Prabhupada said, with one kick of my shoe, I can knock out all the obstacles in your life, provided you follow my instructions. So, it's very simple. So by the mercy of the spiritual master, everything's possible, and everything is revealed in the spiritual sense. By the mercy of the Guru, by the mercy of Krishna. We cannot, or we should not give these excuses. And the material disqualifications that we have, devotion outweighs those. Devotion outweighs material disqualifications. Just like in Krishna's pastimes, right? Krishna married how many queens, Ryan?
16,108.
Yeah, 16,108, right? So how many queens did he capture from that king? Remember that king, he put them all in the basement or whatever?
16,100.
Yeah. So yeah, can you imagine that king? He was, that's pretty wild, right? You capture 16,100 queens, He's, there's, some crazy guy recently. He's kind of a famous guy. I don't know who he is. I don't remember his name, but someone was telling me the news that this guy, he was said to, capture women, and he got caught, capturing some famous guy, in America. Anyways. But this guy, 16,100 queens he captured. Now Krishna came there, and he rescued them, right? Now according to, not like nowadays, right? It's, you marry 15 times and it's all good, right? But in relation to accepting a woman, traditionally men would not ever accept a woman who was with another man. That was just unclean. Just, the woman's considered polluted. You just don't do that. Interesting enough. Anyways, we don't have to discuss nowadays what stuff happens, but the point is, the 16,100 queens were with that king. Maybe not with the king, but still captured. And even according to those days, they were considered, they could not get married in society. In other words, for a young girl not to get married in Vedic, that was like a nightmare. You're living in hell. The girls were living in hell, a nightmare, actually. Nowadays we think, oh, well, people don't get married. Okay, well, it doesn't really matter. The girl's single for 45 years. She has a few boyfriends. It doesn't really matter. But back then, that was just horrible. We cannot imagine how horrible that it is. So they had this idea, oh, this king captured us, now we're not going to get married, and oh, my life is finished, ruined. But then Krishna came, and what did he do? He captured him, and he married him. Oh. Why? Because of their devotion. They were devotees. It's not a sensuous type of weird thing. They were devotees. And he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he married them. So in other words, the devotion that they had outweighed their material disqualification. So similarly within us, yeah, we have material disqualification. Sure, everybody for the most part has. We can't argue that. We could argue so many other things, but we can't argue that. So, but if we have devotion, which means we have commitment, we have hard working, commitment, surrender to Krishna, to the spiritual master, propagating the mission of Krishna consciousness, trying to introduce people to the chanting of the holy names of Krishna, then that will outweigh our material disqualification. And then Krishna will give us His mercy. He may not marry us, but He'll give us His mercy. We're not queens, but maybe next life. But He will give us His mercy, despite all material disqualifications. So that is the great thing, that no one is barred. No one in any age, any stage is barred from Krishna's mercy, but they have to have that devotion. They have to have that devotion, which will outweigh the material disqualification. So does anyone have any questions or comments? Yes.
Regarding the women thing,
Yeah.
I was discussing with some devotees one time, and
The women issue? I was joking.
Yeah, this particular devotee defines either intelligence itself or an aspect of intelligence as being able to see so many steps ahead.
Yeah.
So if someone's really attached to sense gratification and they just want it in the moment, they just want that sense gratification.
Yeah, it's passionate, yeah.
Yeah, and they don't think about the long-term consequences because they just want it so bad.
Yeah.
Whereas someone who's not so materially attached, they can think about more long-term consequences.
Yeah.
So my understanding is women are tend to be more materially attached than men.
Yeah.
Therefore, they can't see such long-term consequences so far ahead in the future where men can.
Yeah.
And one obvious example of that is men love to go camping, women don't like to go camping because of the comforts. Yeah. And women love bodily decoration, jewelry, and makeup, and men aren't so attached to it in general. And there's almost always more male renunciants in the world than female renunciants, nuns.
Yeah.
Some nuns. But then my understanding is women can actually be more clever when it comes to material arrangements.
Yeah, for sure.
Like as far as decorating, women
Yeah.
can be more intelligent as far as decorating or
Yeah.
so it's
That's
more
true.
sensually pleasing.
That's true.
And the famous men don't like to ask directions, which is dumb because they're just like they
Proud.
Ego. But women
Yeah.
are like, just ask directions.
Yeah.
They want to get where they're going so they can enjoy their senses. So
Yeah.
In America today, more women are getting doctorate degrees every year than men.
And they're smarter with money.
Well, that's traditionally in the Vedic culture. They manage the money in their household. Yeah. And the women, have to spend, because the men will, buy a big screen TV. The women will buy food so the baby can milk.
Yeah, it's like when, anyways, Prabhu was that reporter that, in terms of being attached and just thinking about, you could say, maybe not being able to think about the future so much, but even if they're just focused on this life, the family and the kids and just the whole arrangement and sense gratification and the whole thing, it's like, okay, fine, but then, and there's God, maybe, God in the picture, but if it's not going so deep, if it's just kind of like a material thing for the most part, then, but what about next life, right? And that's where it requires being detached from this whole world and this whole type of small life where we have to think about the next life. So, but
One of the problems is that they're hardwired to have children and take care of children and all that, and that's a huge attachment to this world.
yeah,
And so, but men are hardwired to enjoy their senses also. Basically. But women, they have these up and downs, there's the hormones and then emotional things. And so that's why, China don't trust, because you never know, they can make a decision on the basis of the emotions. And this is all like averages. You have guys who are really stupid and women who are really smart, even in this movement.
yeah,
I wouldn't want to try to, match my intellect to Irma. She got doctorate degrees, she's written books and all that,
yeah,
But on the average, you have, the women are generally more inclined to expand and do the whole thing with children. That leads to emotional intelligence. But in terms of philosophy and thinking
Yeah, like Prabhupada was talking about that reporter, that woman reporter, famous, but this woman reporter, they're kind of joking a little bit, which was interesting that the woman was joking with Prabhupada because it's kind of a sensitive subject, but the woman said, women, they live longer, and you kind of see Prabhupada kind of smile, yeah, that's true. I guess it is seen that women live longer. So you could say in that way, that's a form of intelligence to be able to, prolong the life and, because they...
We had back in 2000 or so, the late 90s, Maldives started where I visit every year, Columbus Temple.
Yeah.
It was completely a women's ashram. And it was like an experiment. They were all brahmacharis. They were going out and they were teaching and they were distributing books and doing everything. And one by one, everyone got married and close now.
In the African culture, we actually praise the black woman in the church. She's very powerful.
Yeah, it's like Holly. Shakti there.
But it is true, yeah, obviously, that like Arjuna, right, in the Bhagavad Gita says, if I kill all these soldiers, then all the women will be without husbands, and then, they'll be unprotected, and then they'll be exploited, and the whole society will go to hell. So anyways, the point is that the family, because not everybody was going to be, brahmacharis and sannyasis, which there will always be brahmacharis and sannyasis in the core of them. Sure, that's necessary. But obviously, thinking of the society, then there has to be families, and a very important part of those families is a sane, responsible, nurturing mother. Because people without sane, responsible, nurturing mothers, they have a hard time later in life. Yeah, and that's why there's so many problems nowadays, because the family unit's so shattered and broken, which means the mothers and fathers are separated, or the mother's not a good mother, right? But if people have good mothers, then yeah, they grow up, more healthy and properly, and like they felt loved growing up and stuff like that. That's very important,
Where's Kali? You said just like Kali.
Kali, goddess Kali, she's the goddess of material energy.
I used to use this example too. King Solomon, you've heard of King Solomon?
Oh, I've heard of King Solomon, all right.
He spent his whole life doing all the wisdom in the world.
Yeah.
And at the end of his life, he realized it was nothing compared to the wisdom of God.
Yeah.
So that's important.
But the basic thing is we all work together. So everybody has their place, we all work together, and no need to, I'm better, you're better. We all work together. All right, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai.